Hello and welcome once again to my channel. My name is Evans. Today we will continue our tutorial on full stack web application development using Python and Django for the backend and using HTML, CSS, JavaScript for the front end. Now on this tutorial playlist, we're building a full stack web application that has the functionalities of Airbnb, Booking.com and Uber, where users can list their rooms on our web application. Hotels can also list their rooms, and then people can, book for rooms just the way it's done on booking.com. Drivers can also register on our platform, and then individuals can also book for a ride just the way it's done on Uber and other ride sharing app. So for today's lesson, we're gonna continue with our Python and Django tutorial, like I said, and this is a playlist. I have more than 4 playlists on my channel, and so if you click on this playlist, you're gonna see we already have 15 videos. So this is not the first video in this tutorial series, and in our last lectures, we are able to retrieve all the registered vendor from the backend and display it on our front end. That's what we did in our last lecture. So we created an app called admin area, and the essence of creating this app is so an admin can view all registered vendor on the platform. If they need to delete a vendor, if they need to modify the vendor record, or if they need to maybe disable a vendor account or approve a vendor account, they can do all of that in this admin area. That's why we created an app called admin area. And then in our last lecture, we wrote this code that retrieves all the registered vendor on our database and displayed it on our front end. So for today's lecture, what we're gonna do is we will try to retrieve single vendor information. So let me show you what I mean. So to view all the vendor record, we input our URL manually. So I'll go to my book and ride folder. This is it. And then I go to urls.py, and then this is the link, admin area. So I copy this admin area link. I've already started my server, my development server, so my application is already running. Now this is the front page, and then in here I put a / and then paste admin area, put a / again. I will now go to the admin area app, go to the urls.py, and then copy this URL. We're doing this manually because we've not placed the URL on our home page so that the user can navigate to the admin area. So but after this, we're gonna do that. So once I paste admin area / view all vendors and I press enter, it lists all the registered vendors on our application from our Postgres database to the front end. Now we've not started working on our front end, so we're just focusing on the backend logic, and that is why our page is like this. But when I'm done teaching the backend logic, we're gonna concentrate on HTML and CSS and JavaScript, to make our page dynamic, beautiful, and interactive. So for now, just focus on the backend logic. Now, on this page, we're listing all the vendor details on this page. But if I want to view a single vendor, I cannot for now. So we will add a link for edits. We'll add a link for delete. We'll also add a link for view. So if you want to view individual record, you can simply click on view, and then it brings up the individual record. But before then, if I go to my home page, I don't want to be putting this URL manually. So just the way we created link here, register your account, register your vendor accounts and register as a driver here, we're gonna add a link that is going to navigate us to the admin area where we can view all registered vendors. So now what you need to do, you simply go to your homepage templates, which is home.html, and then here we can place our link here. So I'm gonna type a paragraph tag P for a new paragraph. I will say admin area. Now we can link it by typing, just where we did here, this ahref. You can also do it. So ahref, and then you open a curly brace, you type percentage, and then you type URL, quotes, double quotes, and space. So in here you put in the URL. So the URL is, I go to my admin area, and then I go to urls.py, and then this is the name of the URL, view all vendors. So I'm gonna copy it, and then I'll go back to my home.html, and then I'll paste it here. So with this, it's gonna link, to the admin area. But close this, and then inside this a tag, we can cut this admin area, cut it, and then put it inside the a tag. So this is it. Now I'm gonna save it, save all, and then I'll go back to my home page and then refresh the page now. So this is it, admin area. And then if I click it now, it just takes me to the admin page where I can view all the vendors. So for today's lecture, we're gonna add, edit, delete, search, and view a single record. Now what we need to do is go back to your code, and then this is our templates. Go to the template section, these templates, and go to the admin area, open it up, and then view all rec.html. Open it up. So this is it. Now this is our table we use in displaying the record. And then in here, what we need to do now is open a table data td, and then I'm gonna say edit, open another table data td, view is okay. I'm gonna open another table data td, delete. So this is enough. Then I will save it, go to file and go to save all, and then I'll go back to my home page, and then I'm gonna refresh it. So I have edit now, I have view, I have delete. So this is my table headers. I need to add, let me add edit, view, and delete tab as well. So this place is not gonna be empty. Now to do that, just go to your table head section. This is the table head, this is the table row. It's very simple. So you simply open a table head th, and then the first one is edit, and then I'll just copy this to make it faster, delete, and then the last one is view. View. View before delete. So I'll just cut this and then take it up and go to file, go to save all, and then I'll come in here and then refresh my page. So it looks better now. Now one thing I want to do, instead of just using edit, view, and delete. I want to use font awesome icon. So instead of this write-up, I just want an icon. So in our previous lecture, I've shown you how to add the font awesome icon CDN, and then this is it. I think I modified the CDN link, but you can always Google the CDN link for font awesome, and then you're gonna find it. So this is the link, but I'm also going to keep this link on the description of this video. So in case you don't find it, you can always find it on the description section of the video. So this is it. Now if you want to use other versions of font awesome, you can simply change the version here, maybe to 5.9 or 4.1 or 3.1, but this is the latest version 6.6.0. and yeah, so you need to include this on the head section of your HTML, and then once you do that, you go to your web browser, and then we'll simply type font awesome, and then I'll go to the font awesome library. Now once it opens up, you can simply click on this search icon, or this icon. So we want to place stuff like this on our web application instead of just having edit, view and delete. So you simply click on search, and then I'm gonna search for anything. The first one is edit, so I'll search for edit icon, edit, and press enter. And yeah, so this is it. I can pick any one I want. Now you see this is version 6.60, the latest one I'm using on this web application, 6.60. so yeah, you can change the version if you want, but we just stick with 6.60. and then yeah, if you want to use this, for example, you simply click on it, pen to square, and then this is the code, FA solid, FA pen square. Just click to copy it. Once you click to copy it, you go to your code now, and then yeah, this is it. Edit, so td edit. I'll just start it all over again so it don't confuse you. So I'll open a tag, table data tag, and then close the tag, and then inside of it I'll place my font awesome code. So yeah, this is it. Now I'll simply click on file, save all, and refresh my page so you see how it is. So you see this is it, edit. Yeah, now if you want a write-up on top of this, beside this edit, what you need to do is, so we have our opening I tag and then the closing I tag. So in between, in here, you can type whatever you want, edit. Yeah, and then you go to file, and then you say save all, and then you can refresh your page again. So you see I have edit write-up now. So you can add the write-up to it, or you can remove it, but I'm just gonna remove the write-up. I don't want it. So I'm gonna open another tag again, table data, close the tag. Then now I need view. So I'll go to Font Awesome website again, and then I'll close this, and then I'm gonna type view. So yeah, these are some icons I have. Let me see. Let me use view record and see if I'll get better icons. None. View. So view is okay. Let me see if I can find something good. So I'm gonna just go with I'm just gonna go with this icon. I'll click on it and then click here, go back to main code, and then inside this table data tag, I'm gonna place it, and then I need delete, so I'll open another table data td, and then I'll go back to Font Awesome. I'll search for delete. So yeah, I can go with this delete, and then I'll click on the code to copy it. Then I'm gonna place it. Then I'll go to file, save my changes, and then I'm gonna refresh my page. So yeah, so I have, edit, view, and delete icons now. So now we'll start by viewing single record, yeah, and then when we're done with viewing single record, we can also write the backend logic to edit single record and also to delete single record. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do for today. Now what you need to do is go back to your admin area app, admin area, and then you go back to the views.py, and then we're gonna define a function now to retrieve single record from our registered vendor list. So what you need to do is to define a function just where we defined a function to view all records. So I would say def, I'll call it whatever I want, view underscore single underscore record, and then open parenthesis, and then what you need to do, you need to say request and then comma, but this time around we need to add a pk. I will explain to you, and then you come in here and semicolon, press enter, and then return render request comma, then we need to specify the path to the HTML record, to the HTML file that will display the single record. So I will put the file in our admin area folder. So if you go to the template section, this is a template, we have admin area folder. So inside this folder, I want to place all HTML that has to do with the admin area. So in here, I'm gonna type admin area / is not going to be view record now. I'll call the HTML view underscore single underscore record dot html. So it means we need to go to this admin area folder now and create this file called view single record.html. So I'll copy what I just typed, and then I'll go to the admin area inside the templates folder, and then I'll right click, and then I say new file. I'll paste it, view single record.html, and that is it. So this is an empty HTML template now. We're gonna add some HTML code to it. So yeah, now for this function, for our previous function here, we didn't add pk, but here we are adding pk. Pk stands for primary key. So instead of pk, we can also use id. Now when you create a database record with Django and Python, it automatically creates a field called pk or id. So let me show you now. I'll go to my models.py. I'll go to the vendor app where we have our database record for the vendor. So it's inside the vendor app, and then I'll go to models.py, and then this is the vendor registration. So now this is our table. It has user profile, vendor name, vendor type, vendor license, and all the rest. Now, when you create the first vendor, it will have a primary key field or an ID field, and the ID or primary key field will start with 1. When you create the next record, the PK is going to be 2. You create the third one is going to be 3. So the primary key is like a unique identifier. So that's why in here we are requesting for the PK. We typed PK, yeah? So if I go back to this web application, and once I click on view, for example, if I click on this view, it gets the PK, the number, the primary key of this particular record. If I click on view on the second one, it will get the primary key. So if the primary key or the ID is 1 or 2 or 3, it gets the ID. That is what we're doing here. We want to get the ID or the PK of the record that you want to view. Now, for this view all vendors, we didn't add PK because we are not fetching any particular record. Rather, we are fetching all record. So PK is not necessary. So for example, if I want to call all students in year 1, I don't need to call them by their individual names. But if I want to call out a single student, I need to, mention the student's name. This is what, it's the same principle. Yeah. So what we need to do now is we have to write the logic that will get the single record. So in here, I'll simply define a variable. I'm gonna say the single vendor equals. Now it's not gonna be vendor registration.object.all. Rather, it's gonna be vendor registration.object.gets. So it's gonna be vendor registration.objects.gets. So when you want to display all record, you use this vendor registration.objects.all. But if you want to fetch a single record, you use .gets. Now you open parentheses and then you say PK, which is primary key, equals PK. Now this PK, it's what is going to be fetched on the web browser. So for example, when I click on this record now, when I click on this view, it gets the PK and then it passes it to this variable called PK. So this PK can be whatever you want. It can be anything, it's just a variable name. I can say the PK, for example, equals PK. So the PK is equals PK. And this PK, this primary key, is this one inside this function. So on our URL, is going to pass the primary key and save it inside the PK. But we're just gonna go with PK equals PK. It's still gonna work. Or in order not to confuse you, I'll just leave it like this. This is a variable name and this PK is this PK that will be fetched from our URL. Now the next thing you need to do is to pass it inside the context dictionary so that it can be accessed on the HTML template, just the way we did in here. Now you type context equals, you open a dictionary and then you open a quote. So you call it the single vendor colon the single vendor. So this can be anything. You can call this whatever you want, but then after the colon, it has to be this variable name. So if you call this United, whatever, anything you want, it doesn't matter. So you can access this single vendor record with this dictionary name. So, but I'm just gonna leave it like this. the single vendor colon the single vendor. Now in here I'm gonna put a comma, and then I'm gonna pass the context dictionary inside of it. Context, yeah, this is it. Now with this code alone, sometimes we may have an error. I'm gonna explain. So now my page is open and I can see that I have ever as the number one record, but sometimes, you know, some other person can open the same page. Maybe there may be two admin or more than two admin, and then one of the admin just deleted this record, for example, you know, and then you have not refreshed your page. So you will still think that, okay, Eva still exists as a vendor on our web application. Meanwhile, someone else has deleted it. So in that case, when you click on view, you're not gonna find any record. So in order to mitigate against such errors, we need to put this inside a try statement, inside a try block. So in here, I'm gonna say try, and then you need to properly indent it. And then I'm gonna say except vendor registration dots does not exist, and then colon. So it should try this, but if this record does not exist, it should return an error message or redirect the user to maybe a different page. So I can, you know, return an HTTP response. You know, I will say return HTTP response. The record you are trying to view does not exist. Now I'm having an error here because I need to import this. So I'll go to the top of my page, and then I'll say from Django.http import HTTP response. So once I import it, the error has vanished. So this will just take the user to an empty page with this, you know, notes: the record you are trying to view does not exist. So yeah, this is how to, you know, use the try and except statements in Python. Now the next thing I need to do is to, you know, create the URL for this view single record. So I'll go to my admin area app, and then urls.py. So this is the URL to view all record, and then in here I'm gonna say paths. I'm gonna give it a name. I'll say get underscore single underscore vendor, you know. So this is the URL, and then I'll add a /, and then for this URL I need to pass the PK like I explained. So yeah, open a tag. So this is less than sign, and then greater than sign. You open it, and then inside of it now you type int PK, because the primary key is an integer, is a whole number. So you type int PK, and then yeah, after the greater than sign you put a / again, and then you put a comma. So the rest of your URL will be similar with this other one now. So you say views dot the name of your function now. So I'll go to my views.py, and then this is the name of my function, views.view single record. Go back to the url.py. I've copied it, view.view single record, and then You specify the name equals, just to make everything uniform, I call it the same thing, view single record. So this is how to structure your URL when you want to get a single item. It can be car details, it can be user details, it can be employee details, anything at all. So long as it's a single record that you want to view, then you need to specify the primary key. The difference is just, the same thing. You give the URL a name, get single vendor, but then you pass int primary key. So this in primary key, now once you click on this view icon, it gets the primary key and passes it to the URL. So your URL will have the primary key of, let's say, 1 or 2 or 3. And then on my function now, this primary key will be passed to this DP key. That's how it works. So now the next thing you need to do is to go to this view single record, and then you type some HTML code that will display the record from the database. So just like what we did in here for our view all record, so the code is going to be similar. We can also include display the single record using a table. So yeah, we're gonna continue with this format. We'll just use a table to display the record. So if you want, you can simply copy this page, because there is no point starting this all over again, but for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just gonna start it very quickly. So this is view single record. The page is empty. Now I'm just gonna press shift and exclamation sign, and then yeah, I'll press enter. Now when this one exclamation sign is highlighted, it's gonna generate my HTML boiler template. This is it. Enter. Yeah, it has generated it, but I can decide to type all these codes if I want. So if I want, the first thing I need to do is to state the doc type, doc type HTML, and then in here I can state lang equals en English. Then open a tag again, type HTML, close the tag, and then I come in here, I type head, close my header, I type my body tag, close the body tag. Yeah, so but doing all this is not is not necessary for me. I already know it, but for you, you can type your HTML code so you can master it. Then inside my head, I can import my font awesome, my CSS, and then inside my body, I can start writing my table code. So I can say table, close the table tag, and then I can say table head, and then I close the table head as well, table head, then specify table row, close the table row, and then th, I can say first name, stuff like this. But just to make our development very rapid, I'll simply copy this code that we've already done for view all record. So Control A, Control C, view single record. I'm just gonna paste it. So now we have view all vendor, but I'm gonna change this to single vendor record. And then the next thing, I have my Font Awesome CDN. Then this is my Bootstrap CDN as well. And then for the title, vendor registration page, no, I'm just gonna change it to single vendor record. And then yeah, the rest of the code can be the same. I have hash, I have user, vendor name, vendor type, approval status, join dates, first name, last name, email, username. I have edit, I have view, I have delete. So yeah, let me say I need to add more field, because since we are viewing a single record, I want to display all the record about the vendor. So now I'll go to my vendor app to see the model and the fields that I need to add more. So this is my vendor app. I'll go to my models.py. So I have user profile, vendor name, vendor type. Let me include the vendor slug as well. View single record. So in here, I'm gonna say I'm gonna copy this and then I'll paste it. Vendor slug x vendor slug. So yeah, you can add more fields if you want. So this is okay for me. Now because we are already inside the single vendor page, we don't need view again. So once you fetch the single record, we can edit it or we can delete it, not view, because we are already viewing it. Now the next place is we need to do this. Go to your views.py, in your admin area, and then this is our context dictionary, the single vendor. That is what we passed in the context dictionary. So if you want to display the record, you need to use the single vendor. No longer, you can't use the vendor again, and you can't use for all vendors because we're not fetching all vendors. So now you need to delete this, you need to take away this for, and then you also need to take away this empty, and for, just take away this. Now what you need to do is, we also don't need this for loop counter because we're displaying just a single record and we don't have our for statement anymore. So now instead of all vendor.user, you just need to say the single vendor.user. The single vendor is coming from here. This is it. This is our function that is used to display the single vendor, and we say the single vendor equals vendor registration.objects.gets. It gets a single vendor, and then we now pass the single vendor inside the context dictionary, and then pass the context dictionary in here. So now you can access this single vendor using this dictionary. Now view single record, the single vendor.user, the single vendor.vendor name, the single vendor.vendor type, the single vendor.is approved, single vendor.created as. So you just change everything. Single vendor.user profile.first name, single vendor.user profile.last name, single vendor.user.email, single vendor.user.username. Now I explained why I'm using user first name, user.last name in here, because in our last lecture I told you when you go to the vendor model, let me go to my vendor app, and this is my model. I don't have first name, last name, and other information, but I have user. I have a field called user equals models.one-to-one field user. So this user model is the one that has the first name, last name, and other personal details. So once a vendor account is created, it also creates the user model for this vendor. Now this user model is inside our account. So go inside the authentication app, and then you're gonna see models, and then this is the user model. So on this user model, we have username, we have email, we have role, and so that's why we said the single vendor dot user profile dot first name. Let me see the single vendor dot user profile. Now go to the vendor model, and then you have user profile. This is user profile field, models.one-to-one field user profile. Now on this user profile model, go to the authentication app, and then you go to models.py. This is the user profile model. It has the first name, last name, and all the rest. Likewise, if you want to display the email of the user, what you need to do is the single vendor dot user dot email, because if you go to the vendor model again, go to models.py, you're gonna see it has a user field, which is a one-to-one field with user model, which has some information. It also have a user profile field, which is a one-to-one field, on the user profile. So if you want to display any information on this user profile, you need to use the single vendor dot user profile dot the name of the field. So the single vendor dot user underscore profile, I'll go to the user profile. This is model, and this is user profile dot first name. So this is it. That's why we have the single vendor dot user profile dot last name. Go to the models, you will see user profile dot last name. If you want to display the address line 2, you say the single vendor dot user profile dot address line 2. So yeah, that's it. Now the single vendor dot username, yeah, so this is it. Now what we need to do is we need to add this URL. If I come to my page, we need to add the URL to this eye icon. So once you click on this eye icon, it will display that particular record. So now you need to go back to the view all rec.html, which is this one. This is it. You go to admin area. This is view all rec.html. This is it. And so you look for the eye icon. This is it. This is it. FAI. This is the view. So you need to add the link in here. So when the user clicks, it will open, the particular record for you. Now, to add the link to your single vendor, you need to come to this point. Just watch very closely. Let me zoom my screen more. No, this is too big now. I think this is okay. Now this is my I class. This is the I class. This is just table data. Now after the table data, you open a less than sign, and then you type a space href. And then once you do that, it opens two quotes. It opens a quote for you. Go outside the quotes and close your a tag. So once I close it, you see my a tag is now closed. Just cut this a tag X and place it after this closing I tag. So I've enclosed this I class, this icon inside an href tag. Now let me zoom it for you. This is it. You can pause the video, watch it very well, and write it down if you're confused. Now inside of these quotes, you need to open curly brace, open one curly brace and close it, and then you type percentage, go inside the percentage, give a space, you type URL, give a space, you open a quote, two quotes, give a space. Now inside these quotes, go to your admin area, urls.py. So this is the URL. We say get single vendor int pk, and then views.view single record, and then the name is view single record. So is this name that you need to add inside of your a tag, this name. So I like making my URL uniform. If you see in here, I use view all records, views.view all records. This is the function on my views.py, and then name, I use the same name as well, view all vendors. So this name is the same thing as this, it's the same as the function name, and also the same as the name as well. But for this one, I'm using a different name, so you can use a different name. I adopted this approach, so if you see something like this, you won't be confused. So what you need to copy is this view single record. So you copy it, and then you go to your HTML. So inside of this URL tag, you place it. So view single record. Now you need to pass the primary key as well. So to pass the primary key, you need to copy this all vendor. So for all vendor, this is a loop that loops through the database and displays the vendor record. So I'm gonna come here and copy this all vendor, and then I'm gonna come here, paste it. So all vendor dot pk. So once you click on this I symbol, it gets the primary key of this particular record. Now go to file and save all, and then we can view the changes now. So I'll go to my web page and then just refresh the page. You see, so the eye icon now has a link. So if I click on it, yeah, so this is the record. But let me show you something. I'll go back in here, admin area, my views.py. In here I had the pk, which is wrong. So this is what we did. I'll go to file and save all, and then I'll go back to my web page, refresh this, and then if I click on this view this record now, it's gonna give me an error. So it says cannot resolve keyword the pk. Now let me explain. Like I told you earlier, once you create a record on Django and Python, it creates a field called pk by default. So when you say vendor registration.objects.get, this has to be pk. This has to be pk, but then this one can be whatever you want. So if I pass this as maybe the pk, then I have to pass this as the pk. You get? So this has to be the name of the field inside your database, which is pk and nothing else. You can use pk or you can use id. So now once you change this to the pk, this has to be the pk, but this is gonna be pk, you know, because this is the name of the field in your database. It's either pk or id. Now, but this can be anything, this can be anything. So if you change this to the pk, it means you need to go to your url, you go to your urls.py, and then you have to change this to the pk. That's not all. You also need to go to your html templates on your view all record where you have the I symbol, and then change this to the pk. Now if you go to file, click on save all, you go back to your page and then just refresh it, you know, and click on this and click on view, so it gives you the record. But now to make everything yeah, and you also need to on your view all record, so this has to be, you know, pk, not the pk. So this is this pk is what you have in here, this pk. So when you're using something different, you use the pk on your function, you change this to the pk, you go to your url, you change this to the pk. But then the easiest way is simply to leave everything as pk, so you don't keep, you know, you wouldn't get confused or make an error. So just change everything to pk, come in here, pk. So yeah, that's it. Go to file, go to save all, and then I'm gonna refresh my page, so then I can view any record now. So it has given me, you know, the single record for this particular user. So like I said, just maintain pk across everywhere. So your url should be int pk, on your html it should be all vendor.pk. so this all vendor has to be whatever the for loop is for all vendor in the vendors, you know, and then your views in your admin area should also be pk here and then pk here. So everything is just gonna be uniform and work. So yeah, on this view single record, we can decide to display more record if we want, you know. So in here, view single record, we don't need this eye icon, so we need to take it off. This is it, just take it off, save all. So on the single vendor record, we can delete this. Edit has delete icon, we need to change it. So this is f8 delete. Yeah, so yeah, we need to change. This is edit, this is delete, edit and delete. This is okay, I think our vendors log and our username is not displaying. So we have the vendor.username, we have on the table head, we have vendors log and username, so we need to add them here. The single vendor.user. So what we're gonna do is, let's go through this one after the other. So we have hash, and then I'm gonna remove the hash because it's just one record. And then we have user, we have single vendor.user, we have vendor name, single vendor.vendor name, we have vendor type and approval status, vendor type approval, yeah, and then we have dates joined, first name and last name, created that, first name and last name, and then we have email and vendors log, email, username. So we need to add the vendors log. Yeah, so I'm gonna copy one of these, paste it. The single vendor.user.email is not gonna be that, so I'm gonna go to my vendor models.py and check the vendors log. This is vendors log, so I'll copy it. I'll go to my single record, so the single vendor dot vendors log. So I'm gonna go to, I'll save. Yeah, so I saved my changes and then I refresh the page, so everything is looking all right now. Username, edit and delete. So yeah, when we open the single vendor record, we can click to delete it, we can also edit it, and then on the view all vendor page as well, we can also edit and delete. So in here we can also delete it directly without opening it up. We can also click to edit it. So yeah, this is where I'm gonna stop my lectures for today. So we've been able to fetch single record from our database to the HTML templates, and then on our next lecture we're gonna add the code to delete record. We will add code to search, and also functionalities for edit. So for this single record, you can add more fields if you want. Just go to the models, and then if the field is on your user profile, you say the single vendor, the user profile, and then the field name. If the field is on the user model, you say the single vendor.user.email. And if the record is just on your vendor model, you just say the single vendor.the field name. So thank you very much, and don't forget to like my video and also subscribe to my channel if you find this tutorial useful. So when I drop the next video, you're gonna receive a notification, and then you're gonna keep on learning. So on my channel, I am teaching full stack web development using Python and Django, HTML, CSS and JavaScript. I also have a playlist where I'm teaching how to build full stack web application using React front end, and then Python and Django for the backend, and Django REST framework as well. I'm also teaching Docker and Kubernetes, Git and version control, yeah, and also core Python programming. So like and subscribe to my video, and I will see you again in the coming days. Thank you very much, and bye bye.